Welcome to the Royal Purple Sports Bar. I am Daniel Schottler. This is Justin St. Peter. We're both staff writers for the Royal Purple, the student-run newspaper at UW-Whitewater. We're going to talk about the National League Central for 2014. The reigning champs are
St. Louis Cardinals, as much as I hate to say it.
Me too. So
they made a couple big moves in the offseason. They signed Johnny Peralta, because ever since Edgar Renteria left a long time ago.
that is such a old player that you would be talking about right now. Is he still in baseball, or is
he was in Dodgers last year. He had a good time. He was a good pinch hitter, but ever since he left, the Cardinals have been searching for a good starting shortstop. They think they found him, Johnny Peralta.
Wasn't Rafael Furcal okay for him the last few years?
Yeah, but he always gets hurt. He's hurt again.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's still on the team.
So as we look at the starting pitching, it's going to be led by Adam Wainwright. Chris Carpenter retired in the offseason. And we got some pretty good young pitchers coming with the team. And
Shelby Miller, Michael Wacha, great postseason run for them.
I was watching MLB Network, and they were saying Wacha has 20 wins this season.
I really wouldn't be surprised. They just keep churning out good, young starting pitchers.
It's like the complete opposite of the Brewers right now. I mean, they have to go buy their pitching.
Lance Lynn had a good start to the year, tailed off towards the end, probably too much work. Joe Kelly, all that wonderful. But Jaime Garcia coming off a big surgery. He had a good year. Was it a year or two ago? He had a great year. And then
didn't he almost throw a no-hitter against the Brewers?
Wouldn't be surprised. I really would not be surprised.
I think it was literally like him and Loesch that year for the Cardinals that almost did that. But who else did they get?
Carlos Martinez, another young guy they brought up last year.
Sean Poole's friend.
Yep, Sean Poole.
Shout out if you're watching this on YouTube.
All right, for their relievers, well, first of all, the Cardinals probably have, I don't know if you can say this too, but they're probably the best starting pitching in the NL Central.
Yeah,
so
I would say that too. Not saying that with the Brewers getting Matt Garza, I think that's another, great addition for that club too. I would agree with that. They're hands down the best starting pitching in the division. Look at their bullpen. They got guys like Joe Kelly, Carlos Martinez, Trevor Rosenthal. You figure the closer is going to be Jason Mott. What do you have to say about that?
So Jason Mott scares the crap out of me. He throws 95, 98 miles an hour every time. And a huge beard, the Brian Wilson-esque beard. Yeah, I would not want to be a batter against him. But all these guys, they have Segrist, Randy Choate is a lefty specialist.
I think wasn't Randy Choate with the Brewers for a short time?
Yeah, he was for a short time. The Brewers, they go everywhere. But the Cardinals, all their pitching scares the crap out of me as a big Brewers fan. You do not want to mess with them, and the Brewers will have to probably about 20 times a season.
So we'll switch hands as we just talk about their pitching. The Cardinals have probably one of the better hitting teams in the National League. We'll start at catcher. The best catcher in the game in Yadier Molina. I'm scared if the Brewers are running on him all this year. So
Carlos Gomez, Gene Segura, normally there's a green light against anybody, but with Molina, you always got to be a lot more careful. He's one of the best at picking off people in the league. Great arm, great hitter. He was runner-up to MVP last year. You really can't say much more. He's a great player.
Who do you think is going to be his backup for? I know they got on their roster on the Cardinals website. It's Tony Cruz and Audrey Perez. You figure it's going to be Tony Cruz.
I don't know any of those people. They had a big trade. They sent David Freese, their often injured third baseman, World Series hero, for.
I still hate admitting that since he did so well in the NLCS in 2011. It just absolutely killed. If he wouldn't have existed, maybe the Brewers would have been in the World Series that year. And
Yep, well, thank goodness he's not in the division anymore, but instead the Cardinals got a great defensive, quick outfielder from the Angels, by the name of Peter Borges. He'll probably be their leadoff hitter. Great player, just not that much of a power hitter. They got Matt Carpenter to replace him at third base. Wasn't he an all-star last year?
Did he play a lot of first base?
No, he was second baseman
He
last
was
year.
second baseman last year. I'm thinking of Alan Craig.
Yeah. Alan Craig will be back well, as of now, he will be healthy for the first time at the start of the season.
He wasn't. He had his he had an injury in the playoffs, didn't
Yeah, he was injured in the playoffs. He injured at the start of the year. He missed a bunch of time. He's a good player.
he? You can definitely tell that I'm not into the St. Louis Cardinals. That he has more analysis than me right now. So, any other bats that you think are?
Oh, Matt Holliday, you can't say enough about him. He's been all-star outfielder for as long as I can remember. Ever since
Ever since he was with Oakland and Colorado back in the day.
Oh, that was a while ago. Matt Adams is good postseason. They picked up Johnny Peralta. Their one weakness is second base.
Which right now would be
Colton Wong. Or
Daniel Descalso.
Yep, and they also picked up Mark Ellis too. So they have some options, but their weakness would be second base and guys going off the bench. I guess John Jay, the Brewer killer last year, he's relegated to the bench.
Oh, when I always see that kid, I'm like, why is he in the game? He looks like such a young kid. And then people tell me he played with Ryan Braun in college, and
oh, I didn't know that.
Man, that must have been quite the two good well, Braun wasn't an outfielder then, but that must have been quite the
For the outfield pairing.
or I was gonna say quite the bat for that college team.
They also have a couple of prospects. One of these guys was ranked in the top. I can't remember who it was. It was Oscar Taveras, Edwin Chambers, or Shane Robinson. Who was in the
I think it was Taveras because I think they were talking about him on MLB Network where he was top 50.
Okay. Well,
prospect thing that they
a top 50 prospect might not make the major league roster because they'll have 4 starting outfielders in their team. That tells you how deep the Cardinals are this year.
Yeah.
All right, want to move on?
Yeah, what team?
We'll go to the Pirates. They made the playoff last year. Wild card. Pirates surprised a lot of people.
This luxury of a computer screen we have in this fantastic room in St. Hall.
The Pirates surprised a lot of people last year. They broke, I don't even know how long it was, like
21, 22 years, you know.
I joined the bandwagon in the playoffs. I was hoping they went all the way, but they have a bunch of good young players.
I had a coach in a baseball class that I picked them to win the World Series just for the heck of it. And I didn't get my 5 things of extra credit for that. So,
but they had a big loss. Well, as of right now, AJ Burnett is still retiring. But
actually, he's actually getting looked at by a few squads
right
now. But
he said that he's retiring, and the Pirates wanted him back. But then I saw like a week ago they stopped talking to him because they thought he was going to retire. So he was their number 1, their ace last year. So it'll be a big loss for AJ Burnett.
If you look at their pitching, Edison Volquez, he used to play for the Reds. He's on their roster right now.
He'll probably be their number 5 guy.
Wandy Rodriguez, I would probably be their 1.
No. Liriano.
I liked Liriano last year. I saw that signing by the Pirates last year, and I'm like, this guy is going to pitch well for this club. And then he did.
He was. I remember reading in Grantland somewhere that he was one of the best ever against lefties last year. They had like a 150 something batting average against them. Lefties could not get anything going on him. They had like 1 homer off of him all year. So even in the playoffs, if they ever use him as like just a lefty specialist and he's not starting, he'll be killer. And then you got Garrett Cole, number 1 pick a couple years ago.
The guy who MLB Network predicts to pitch a no-hitter.
All right.
So lofty expectations on him.
He's a good young player. You got Wandy we talked about. Pick up last year. 2 years ago.
He was traded with the Astros.
Yeah, and then Edison Volquez, Charlie Morton, he had a so-so year last year. Jameson Talon's another guy to look at. He was a big prospect. I don't know if he got up last year at all, but he has a shot to be a summer call-up and have a good second half for them. And then Jeff Locke, I don't know. I don't really know much about him.
You know what? He's an okay catcher.
Yeah, he's
decent. Yeah. Onto their hitting, Russell Martin was a big signing for. Was it last year they signed him?
Yep.
I remember 2 years ago, I think in 2011, I had him on one of my fantasy teams, and he raked it in his community. So.
Great hitter, and he also had the second best arm in majors behind Yadier Molina last year. He picked up anybody that ran. So the Brewers, with all their speed, they're going to have to watch carefully against both the Pirates and the Cardinals. His backup.
I'm going to go ahead and whisper to Justin about them.
His backup is Chris Stewart, Yankee player last year. Not a good hitter, but just a good dog.
Looks like the Pirates are stealing the catches the Yankees had.
Yep. And then their outfield would be Starling Marte, good young player last year. Very fast, good arm, good hitter. McCutcheon or McClutcheon, he comes up in the clutch every time the Pirates need him.
Quite a good outfielder for them. Didn't he get beaten out by Gomez for? Did he get a Cy Young award? I don't know.
Cy Young.
I mean not Cy Young. I mean Gold Glove.
Gomez.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking Cy Young in that situation, but brain fart. Let's talk about the infield.
Oh yeah, and all the way. McCutcheon was the MVP last year as well. So the Pirates know they have the best hitter of the game in their squad.
The MLB 13 to show probably.
Yep. And then for the other outfield spot, they got either Jose Tabata, home run power, Travis Snyder,
former Toronto Blue Jay,
Chris Dickerson,
former Milwaukee Brewer,
and I don't know who Gregory Polanco is.
I have no clue.
He's a young guy
too. There's a stat about Gregory Polanco.
All right, infield. You want to start talking about them?
Jody Mercer, Gabby Sanchez, Neil Walker, former Kenosha Croaker. I know that's going back to anybody from Kenosha watching. Clint Barmas.
Yeah, Clint Barmas is a great defender. Same with Mercer. And
almost could have signed with the Brewers.
Yeah, Sanchez. He was an all-star at one point. He was up and down here. Neil Walker, also an all-star. Probably their second best hitter besides, with Russell Martin right in that category. I don't know their bullpen.
Mark Melanson, great eighth inning guy. Jason Gurley, solid closer for them last year. The question last year was, can he close for that team? And he definitely did. Because with the loss of Joel Hammerhand, he had quite the injury-prone season last year.
Yep.
Actually missed a lot of it.
Gurley finally got his all-star shot and closing shot, and he's like 38 years old last year. It was a very big success story after he completely changed his pitching style and work. Other than Mark Melanson and Gurley, their bullpen is not looking all that wonderful. It was one of their struggles last year to get to the 8th inning. They might have some mid-season addition if they're doing something in the NL.
Yeah. So now you'll go to Cincinnati.
Big loss for them is Shin-Soo Choo, who signed with the Rangers this offseason. He was with Joey Votto. He was in the top 5 in on-base percentage. He was an amazing leadoff hitter. Who had a knack for getting hit by pitches to get on base as well. In his place, they have speedster Billy Hamilton, who I think it was 2 years ago, set the record for over 150 stolen bases in AAA. Yeah. he had to learn an outfield spot so he could get a
So,
spot.
as we're talking about the outfield right now, Jay Bruce, one of the best right fielders, like, had some big pop, unfortunately for him, Votto last year, he got robbed by the Gold Glove winner and Carlos Gomez for the Brewers, both of them, and I believe in the ninth inning, almost like the same situation in the game. Chris Heisey, another decent hitter for them, and then I think that would be their top three in the outfield.
Ludwig too. Ludwig for left field.
Yeah, him too. He used to be on the Cardinals. He's a great power hitter.
Yeah, he was injured for most of last year, but he's a good player.
For the infield, they got Joey Votto, Skip Schumacher. He played with the St. Louis Cardinals last year. Played for the LA Dodgers. Brandon Phillips. Whatever. What's his Twitter handle?
I can't remember what it is. It's a funny one, but he's a pretty controversial player. But he's a very, very good player. He's been an all-star many years.
Clearly tweets more than any of us do. You want to follow either of us? My Twitter handle is dshot1992.
I'm jno406. We got Joey Votto. He's NL MVP 2 or 3 years ago. He's a great hitter, always on top on-base percentage, and he's also an amazing first baseman fielder as well, which is very underrated as a first baseman spot. Schumacher's a utility guy. Third base.
Todd Frazier is quite a big bat. For the team. How many home runs did he hit last year?
He had, I think, 20 with 56 RBIs. It was his first full year in the major league.
Good year for a first-year player. Zach Cozart, he's a decent player too.
Yeah, more of a fielder than a hitter.
Yeah.
Him and Skip Schumacher will probably be switching off there, or Jack Hanahan maybe. Their shortstop is one of their weak points, as well as catcher. Although Devin Mesoraco did good in limited time last year. His backup is
Brandon Pena from the Kansas City Royals.
Yep.
Who was their catcher last year?
Hannigan. He's a good player.
He's a good player. I don't know. He might be a platoon man.
Hannigan left. I don't know.
I know Hannigan left, but it might be interesting to see who's going to be that number one catcher for the Cincinnati Reds. Starting pitching.
Johnny Cueto, Matt Latos, Homer Bailey, Mike Leake. All four of those guys pitched great last year with Bronson Arroyo, who they lost. All those 5 pitchers, they also had one of the best years for NL pitching. So the NL Central is very, very pitching heavily, very pitcher heavy, and a lot of depth. And then Tony Zingrani, prospect, he pitched a little last year, actually a lot last year, and he's a good young player. I don't see him really.
And their bullpen, J.J. Hoover, Sammy Clear, Logan Andrusik, I was going to get to that. Alfredo Simon, Jonathan Broxton, the former Brewer, who wasn't that great in Milwaukee, to be honest. Manny Parra, and my Bob Uecker voice from the 2009 Brewers on Deck when he introduced him. And then we got a lights out closer and Aroldis Chapman. With Broxton and Chapman at the supposedly 8 and 9.
Sean Marshall,
8 and 9th inning, Sean Marshall too. They got some great back of the end bullpen. Could be, well, you mentioned St. Louis's top for St. Louis or Pittsburgh bullpen problems. Pittsburgh with their bullpen problems. So maybe this team has. I would guess this team has the best bullpen in the NL Central. So
I would heavily agree with that. Aroldis Chapman is probably the second best closer in the game right now behind Craig Kimbrell. Another guy that throws over 100 whenever he wants. They tried putting him at starting pitching for a short time, but realized that he is the second best closer in the game, and they.
I think if they would have put him at the starting pitching role, I think he would have blown on that.
Very well, because 100 miles an hour, you can't do that all the time. Another big thing is they have a new manager. His name is Brian Price. Replaced Dusty Baker, who's a player-friendly manager, but could not fill out a lineup card for crap. His second and third hitters.
Now you think about Dusty Baker. You know, he's been lucky the last few times out as a manager. He had Sammy Sosa, Corey Patterson, Aramis Ramirez, Barry Bonds, all of those in San Francisco and Chicago. And then he gets stuck with Joey Votto, Brandon Brooks, and Jay Bruce.
What a bad rep that he had.
Yeah, but he's lucky to have that many bats.
But yes, he did not play them very well last year. I remember reading many articles. At the start of the lineup, you want guys that get on base, and he would always throw Zach Cozart and I think it was Ludwig, who had terrible on-base percentages, who would get outs, and when Votto and Phillips came up, there was always 2 outs, and they couldn't do anything with that.
Now on to our favorite team, you know, the Milwaukee Brewers. Wish we would save that for last, but we'll save the team that's going to finish last in the division for last. So for the Brewers, we'll start with their new and improved starting rotation.
Yes, their pitching is going to be a lot better than last year. Although the second half of the year they had a good run with their starting pitchers. But Giovanni, I see him having a comeback season. He had a rough year last year, but he's been their ace for a few years now. Matt Garza, big addition they signed just a couple days ago.
Did not expect that. I was sitting in my dorm and I thought I was looking up, you know, MLB trade. Saw something that pop up on my Facebook and Matt Garza to the Brewers, and I was like, what the heck is this? And there's no prior warning to it. Brewers organization did a really good job at keeping that under wraps. I didn't expect them to sign him.
Yeah, but all the reports came out. It was like, oh, the deal's already done. But then they waited a couple days. They fixed some contract things, and now they might even have him for 5 years.
It seemed like a Brett Favre, you know, comeback situation. Mm-hmm. What were we going to sign him or weren't we? I mean,
question marks were everywhere there. If he stays healthy, which he's had a problem with the last year and a half or so, he will be the second best pitcher in the Brewers, and he'll be a great addition. Great player.
I'm not even sure about Gallardo. I mean, he had a rough start the last year, and then he kind of picked up the second half. So.
And then Kyle Lohse too. Great year last year. It was a late season sign up. They had a really draft pick for him, but in my opinion, it was definitely worth it because they needed major league quality starting pitching. He definitely gives them that.
And then Willie Peralta last year, he definitely solidified his spot in the rotation with his second half of the season. I think he didn't really get off to a good start of the season, but then he took off and he'll be the number 4 in this rotation.
Great young player. And then Marco Estrada, he's been the swing guy for the last couple of years, but last year he really solidified his spot as probably number 4 or 5 starter, which will probably be number 5 this year. He had a good year, and you expect good things from him.
One of the things with that rotation that would be kind of interesting to see is there's no lefty in it. You know, right now that battle in spring training is going to be the number 5 spot. Marco Estrada, Tyler Thornburg, who played well when he was at the major league club.
Then again, Tyler Thornburg is also ready, so there's still no lefties.
Tom Gortamani, Zach Duke. I mean, I was talking to the Daily Union guy, Josh Smith, and we were both, he was saying, is he going to out of baseball for a while or what? His best year was probably like when he had 6 wins with, who was it? Pittsburgh or something?
Yeah, Zach Duke. I've always liked him, but I don't really see him making this club right now unless he's a bullpen player.
And then there's a guy the guy they picked up in the Norichika Aoki trade to Kansas City, and Will Smith, he's a lefty.
I think he's going to be more of a reliever.
I figure that too.
Thornburg is their best chance. They might bring him as the swing guy and have him be the new Marco Estrada. But then Will Smith will be a good reliever.
Alfredo Figueroa did pretty well in the long relief role last year.
Have Jimmy Nelson, I see, who might be in a reliever this year.
Kinsler did a really great job later in the year when he got the eighth inning role. Jim Henderson is slated to be the closer. if Doug Melvin is watching this at all, which I highly doubt it, go get a guy who can back up Henderson, because a lot of the history in terms of, the coaches they've had, 2006, Derek Turnbow, Hugh Falkard, Eric Gagne in 2008, sucked. Trevor Hoffman, a good year in 2009, and then he fell apart in 2010. Axford, had a good 2011 year, and then he just fell into absolute crap the last 2 years. So if I were Doug Melvin, I might call Francisco Rodriguez right now.
I mean, K-Rod would not be that bad of a pickup, because you can always get him later on in the year. Nobody's really shown any interest in him.
Maybe Francisco Cordero?
Coco?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I know he's old, but
hey, that's the nature of closers, though. You got Craig Kimbrell, Aroldis Chapman, Mariano, who just retired, any other top line closers that all these other guys, they falter. Like, you can only do it for so long, and then it seems like they fall off, then they come back.
Then we all look at Mariano Rivera, and we all sit here and we're amazed at what he could do. And
that's why him and Trevor Hoffman, although in his declining years he kind of fell apart for the Brewers, but him and Trevor Hoffman, those two guys, they really showed how amazing a closer could be and how they could last. Now when you look at today's closers, besides Kimbrell, Chapman, and I don't know if I can think of anybody else that's playing right now, teams have switched closers about every year the last few years. So closer's a very fragile spot. I like Jim Henderson.
That's probably why the Dodgers have so many old closers. Chris Perez, Brian Wilson, right in the league, Kenley Jansen. I mean, that bullpen is going to be good for them.
Yeah, I really like Jim Henderson, but if he starts to falter, I can see them signing K-Rod or somebody like that down the line. But that, I don't see it happening right away. Not coming right out of the spring training. At least.
You don't want to have what happened to him during the year when he hurt his leg on that home ground ball. You remember that?
Yeah, something about that, and he got hurt for a while. But then they still had at the time Axford.
Enough on Michael Blazek, anything? They picked him up in the John Axford deal late last year. Donovan Hand.
You kind of came back and forth. Johnny Helwig.
Rob Wooden.
They have a lot of young prospects, so it'll be interesting to see who will actually pan out. But at the same time, their farm system has been rated 30th of 30th. They're supposed to have the worst farm system in the major leagues. And they're saying that they don't. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for them to rebuild that farm system. Thanks to all the losing a draft pick for Kyle Loesch and the big trades, even going back to like CC where they rated their farm system, they've consistently rated it, and all these players that have panned out, like Ricky Weeks and
J.J. Hardy, Corey Hart,
Ryan Braun, all these guys, they all made it to the major league level and put the Brewers in a spot where they're not going to get all good players.
Think about it, because now who are the only of the guys we mentioned, even if you include Gallardo in this mix, which are the ones still on the team? Lucroy, Gallardo, Weeks, and Braun. Steelers come to Texas.
Hart's with the Mariners.
J.J. Hardy,
Orioles.
Better hitter than he was with the Brewers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So now enough about pitching. I know you can't have enough pitching. We're going to go to some hitting. Two of the best catchers the Brewers could have: Jonathan Lucroy, Martin Maldonado.
Jonathan Lucroy is always underrated. I've been saying this for the last 2 years, that he is probably one of the top catchers in baseball. He's one of the best at framing pitches, which has been shown to give a bunch of extra runs per year. And he's a great hitter. That freak suitcase incident, I don't know if it was that last year or 2 years ago, he might have had an all-star shot.
It might have been 2012.
He would have probably had an all-star shot, but then that freak injury. Like he is a great player, and Maldonado.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't hit 20-something home runs this year.
Yeah, he had 16 and 67, and he missed some time last year. So I think he'll definitely get to the 20 home runs.
Do you think Martin Maldonado will get maybe another start inside pitching in relief for Alta? You figure he's gonna catch Willie Peralta.
He's a good power bat. He's just on days for off days for Lucroy, or if he gets hurt. But he's a good backup plan. I like Maldonado, but Lucroy is still like one of the best catchers in the game, and he'll probably want to try to play as much as he can. He even played some first base last year to get more playing time.
So did Maldonado.
That's true.
That was how bad first base was for the Brewers last year. Alex Gonzalez, UDB, one of the worst, as I quote, Homer and my boy from ESPN Milwaukee, Mitch Thundernellis, that they say he's the worst player in the league.
He had a great month of May. One of my best friends is a big Brewers fan, Michael Hopelinger. He's a huge UNB fan. We went to a couple games when UNB just went off, and then after the rest of that, he just nothing.
And then Juan Francisco, Sean Halton,
Yeah, Juan Francisco, power bat, strikes out a lot.
We're going to see a lot of strikeouts from first base again next year. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first base is a huge problem for the Brewers last year. And maybe it could be a problem this year.
They have more options.
They have more options this year. Mark Reynolds, his highest home run total is 44 in 2009. But that was also the year he set the strikeout record. I'm just going to say this now. I think, despite what other people think, I think Mark Reynolds is in for a big year.
It'll be interesting to see because he is an awful fielder. It's been shown he is a terrible fielder, and he strikes out a lot, which Brewers fans groan every time Juan Francisco struck out last year. It was hard to watch. Mark Reynolds will do that to you, but he also has the 40 home run potential.
And I think that he could hit 30 to 40 home runs. I love that the bat he has hitting wise, but I think he'll thrive in Miller Park for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely Hitter's Park. There was an interesting article. It's probably not true, but it was very interesting to see about how bad of a fielder and how much he strikes out. Actually, Zach Hicks, the old editor for the Route Purple, found it.
Shout out.
It was trying to figure out if Mark Reynolds is actually blind or somewhat blind in both of his eyes, because the way that it was an interesting article. The good read from Baseball Prospectus is the way that he feels if people have to yell at him to go where they go. So it'll be interesting. It's probably not true, but it just shows you how bad of a hitter or how bad of a strikeout player, how bad of a fielder he really is.
And now for the guy who the Brewers tried to bring back last year in spring training, signed with the Yankees, otherwise, Lyle Overbay is back. The O is back.
Doubles hitter, great.
2004, doubles leader.
He's actually, of the many Brewers first baseman prospects they have, Lyle Overbay is the best fielder out of all of them. He's a great fielder, and he's a very good hitter, although he's on a decline in his career now.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if he makes it as a starter, if there's a platoon. First base is so up in the air for the Brewers right now.
About the only infield spot that's up in the air right now, Scooter Gennett and Ricky Weeks.
Ricky has struggled. He used to be an all-star second baseman. Him and Prince together, good friends, good players, and he's struggled with ever since he had that wrist surgery. His hitting has never really looked the same. The last 2 years he struggled. 2 years ago he picked it back up. Last year never really did.
Do you think if Scooter was the job that Ricky Weeks could be headed out?
I don't know what you're going to get for him, because he's got $11.5 million on his contract this year, and he has struggled big time the last 2 years.
So you think he'd be a bench bat?
Yeah, I think.
Or do you think you were talking about Prince Fielder, and I had a vision in my mind just now of maybe Ricky Weeks going to Texas. They go pair up with Prince Fielder again?
Yeah, but don't they just traded Ian Kinsler so they could give playing time to their rookie, that guy that played last year. I can't think of his name right now. He was one of the top prospects in baseball, though. I don't think that's going to happen because the Rangers got enough bats this summer.
I just had a vision. All right, so now for the two locks on this Brewers infield, Aramis Ramirez, he spent some time in the DL last year, so he didn't hit the 30 home runs that you thought he'd hit.
a full season, a full healthy season, you're going to get a Gold Glove third baseman, and you're going to get a great hitter, one of the other double great hitters. But yeah,
I wonder how many doubles Lyle Overbay and Aramis Ramirez will combine for this year.
That is if Overbay gets consistent playing time, but that would be a great competition.
And how many RBIs would come out of it? I mean,
a lot.
You'd love to be the guy that hits right, like Overbay, and then
right before them. And then
or ahead of them in the lineup.
Yeah, Gene Segura, such a good young shortstop, a little wild at times, but he made some spectacular defensive plays last year. He is my favorite player in the Brewers. He had
an all-star year last year, and then for one half of the season, the second half he faltered and fell down the stretch. So
yeah, he played so many games last year. He played in Dominican League, Winter League, and was really burnt out towards the end of the year. But I really like him. He's going to be a good young player. I think he's not playing in the Winter League this year. He'll be rested and ready to go for the season.
Now we're going to go to the outfield as we approach the 40-minute mark in this video. And this Spreaker thing too. Outfield, biggest story. Ryan Braun coming back and a new position.
It'll be interesting to see how the fans take him. I still have mixed feelings about him. It'll be interesting. He's a very good player. You can't get me wrong about that. But with the lying and the steroids, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of a year he'll have.
The good thing is he's still in his prime.
That is true. And he has quite the arm for the right fielder. He'll just be learning the new position, learning where to go and all that stuff.
I think he said it might be easier in right field than left field.
That is true, because he has an amazing arm, and typically there's more hits to left than right.
Now let's go why. Now first of all, I'm glad he apologized to Dino Lorenzi. I'm from Kenosha, so everybody loves Dino in that city. So now for the reason why the Brewers moved Ryan Braun to right field, Chris Davis, not to be confused with the Whitewater version of Chris Davis, that starts to see, and I don't know how many home runs Chris Davis can hit, but Chris Davis with a K, also not to be confused with the Baltimore Orioles guy.
Although he could hit as many home runs as the Baltimore Orioles guy.
We'll see. I think I can pencil him in for 20 home runs this year.
I'd almost get approaching 30. He was a good young hitter last year.
Ball prediction from Justin St. Peter right here.
I'm a big Chris Davis fan. I like seeing him get playing time last year. I thought Logan Schaefer was going to do good with his time. He kind of faltered, and Chris Davis stepped up and just kept hitting. It'll be interesting to see how he fields, because he's not one of the greatest fielders. But if his bat does good enough, he'll stay in the lineup for the rest of the year.
On to the thing that hadn't happened for 31 years in Brewers history. For the first time in 31 years since Robin Yount did it. Oh, who was it?
Yeah, Robin Yount.
Robin Yount was a Gold Glove, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Molitor might have been too. I don't know.
I don't remember. But first time since I'm gonna look this up.
Well, we're talking about Carlos Gomez winning the Gold Gloves. So many home run robbing plays. If we could do a clip of this, we'd have 5 minutes of just spectacular Carlos Gomez plays for this year, or for this past year. He had quite the season, and then he also progressed mightily from hitting as well.
Gold Glove winner is the last one was Yount in '82.
Okay. So 18, 30, 31 years, yep. Carlos Gomez, big surprise. We thought he was going to be a decent player and he's an amazing outfielder. He really stepped up on both ends.
Man, and talk about his speed. I mean, he loves to steal bases, that's one. But he does it when he hits home runs too. So, but except for the instance in Atlanta last year where he hit a home run and he had a stare down with Brian McCann.
Well, I'm happy to say that he'll be in the. Well, I think they have to play the Yankees this year anyway, so it'll be interesting to see when they come back. But yeah, Carlos, his home run shots are always fun because they're not shots; they're full-out sprints.
So, who do you think gets the fourth outfielder spot?
Ooh, Schaefer or Helton?
Caleb Gindel?
Ooh, or Gindel.
Yeah.
Probably.
I would say Logan Schaefer right there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Schaefer's a great
I
backup.
don't know how many options he has left.
I don't think he has many. I think Gindel
So
will.
it'd probably be,
Schaefer's a solid bat, good speed, but he's a really good outfielder, which will be helpful with Chris Davis as he still learns how to play
yeah.
Major League outfield. And let's head to the last place team, who's probably going to be the last place team in this division again.
100 years and counting. The Chicago Cubs.
They have a bright future ahead, but it'll be a few years.
Who is their manager right now? You want to talk about that?
Rick Renteria. They fired Dale Swaim.
Bye-bye.
I always loved Dale Swaim until he took over for the Brewers. Good
I think before I love Ron Ronicke as a manager for the Brewers, but I think hiring Ken Maka in 2009 was an absolute mistake.
Yeah,
they should have stuck with Dale Swain, give him a chance, and he got his other job at the Cubs, but didn't live up to expectations. So
it was pretty hard to live up with expectations though, because the Cubs have not had a great roster. Starlin Castro has really faltered, and they keep trading away whoever's good. So it's hard to live.
Alfonso Soriano and the new Brewer and Matt Garza.
Yep, and interesting fact is Swaim actually joined Ned Yost's crew in the Royals, and he'll be their bench coach. So if Ned Yost has a bad season, Dale Swaim might be taking his job once again.
That'd be interesting. So let's go with starting rotation.
Jeff Samardzija, good young player.
Probably the only good pitcher in this rotation.
Edwin Jackson's decent.
Yeah, one of the only two.
And then you got Travis Wood, decent player. Jake Arrieta, good young player who's had a checkered past so far. Former Brewer Carlos Villanueva.
Always getting mixed up with the Buck.
And
Charlie.
I guess Chris Rusin. They have young prospects that.
At least all those don't suck as much as Chris Volstead.
Bad timing by them last year.
Bullpen.
They picked up Jose Veras.
Another former Brewer.
Might be their closer this year, because thank God they finally got rid of Carlos Marmol. As a Brewers fan, I love playing Carlos Marmol because
it seems like a wild guy. Yeah, he's a wild guy. He was lights out at times, but then didn't really do well last year. Where is he at now?
They traded him to the Dodgers, but I think the Dodgers let him go after the season, so he's a free agent. That's
another guy the Brewers could possibly burn in if Jim Henderson doesn't do well.
Okay, I would not want that. Carlos Marmol is a fireball. He's a great player at times. Other times, he's the wildest pitcher in the major leagues.
Maybe I just had a bad idea. I mean, so
the rest of their bullpen: James Russell, lefty.
Arodys,
Vizcaino, Justin Grimm. He actually is a good prospect. They picked him up in Texas Rangers. Who did they trade the Rangers? Matt Garza. Yeah.
Mike Olt.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley Wright, who used to play for what team, Justin?
Astros.
Kentucky Houston Astros.
And Pedro Strop too. And bullpen. The Cubs.
James
let's
Russell.
face it. The Cubs. The Cubs are not going to be good this year. Everybody knows that.
Sorry to half of Kenosha and everybody in Illinois.
Yeah. Let's look at their lineup. Starlin Castro.
Let's start with the catchers. This is an interesting place in here. They have Wellington Castillo as their number one catcher. We want to guess who their backup is.
George Gutierrez, former Brewer.
Seems like Cubs and Brewers are just interchangeable.
I like George Gutierrez in this time, but it'll be interesting to see because Castillo is a good young player for them, but he's very inconsistent. Just like
they haven't had a good catcher since Soto left.
Yeah, and even in his last year, Soto was not very good for them. So they've just kind of been going downhill with them.
Let's go to the infield.
Starlin Castro is the biggest question mark. He was supposed to be their franchise player. They paid him like his franchise player, and he just keeps going down. He had a down year offensively and a ridiculous amount of errors for a shortstop. They really have to think about if he's the shortstop of the future, because his fielding was really bad last year.
And then we go with Darwin Barney, Gold Glove. 2012 had that ridiculous whatever games it was with no errors.
Yeah, he's a great fielder, not the greatest hitter. My cousin's a Cubs fan, and he cannot stand Darwin Barney at the plate.
Part of my family is Cubs fans on my mom's side, and I can't stand them, first of all, because I always have to talk crap while I'm at family occasions with them. But yeah. Mike picked him up with the Rangers. Supposed to be another good hitter for the Cubs.
Him and Luis Del Bueno, who had a decent season last year, but Olt will probably have the job at some point. If not right away, he'll have it by the end of the year.
And then we'll talk about Anthony Rizzo.
Yes, he did live up to expectations last year. 26 homers, 86 RBIs. I think he led the Cubs in RBIs. It might have been homers too, although Soriano might have hit enough before he left. He was a very good player for them last year. It'd be interesting to see how much if he progresses or falls back a little bit this year.
How about Josh Vitters?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, never mind. We're having fun here. Now the outfield, Ryan Sweeney, Nick Shearholtz, 4-8.
No, Junior Lake will be one of their starters. After they
Justin Ruggiano.
After they traded Soriano out of there, Junior Lake came up and hit homers fast. He literally reminds me of Alfonso Soriano. He's a free swinger, not the greatest fielder, but ridiculous power. Shearholtz finally got a starting job last year. Good player, solid player. Sweeney, just a fielder.
Brett Jackson.
I know Jorge Soler is a good young prospect as well. But
isn't he on the top 50?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah. They have a bunch of young prospects they'll just need a couple of years to all gel together. They could be a scary team in a few years, but that'll give them a couple of years.
So let's go to Richmond time. How do you think the division's going to line up?
Well, I think the Cardinals will repeat, as much as I absolutely hate saying, and I'm not a Cardinals fan at all.
I would agree with that. I hate them.
I think
the 18 Heinrich Schmeyer, I hate your favorite baseball team so much, and yeah, you can talk all the smack you want and not going to change my mind.
I think the Reds will probably take second. Their pitching is good. Their hitting, they got better. On-base percentage might go down a little, but I still think the Reds will be second. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to think with the rotation the Brewers got, maybe. As I look down that roster, you have Ramos Ramirez can hit 30. You have Mark Reynolds can hit maybe 30, 35. Maybe 20 from Gene Segura, 20 from Luke Croy, 20 to 30 for Chris Davis.
Braun,
Luke Croy,
40.
Well, I think I mentioned the Braun can hit 30, 40 home runs. Carlos Gomez, 20, maybe 30. They have a lot of power in that lineup, and now they got a good depth of a starting rotation. But we'll see what happens with both ends. I think if everything pans out right for the Brewers, they will be sitting in the playoffs, second place.
For me, I think that if everything pans right, they'll be third place, and they'll get like an outside shot at the playoffs. I still see both wild card spots going on the NL Central.
I agree with that.
But I still think the Brewers, if everything pans out right, the best place they'll be is third. Because I see the Pirates falling back just a little bit this year. It's kind of like the Reds did after they got this playoff for the first time in a while.
Okay. And then we all agree with the Cubs being last. So.
Yep.
All right. So.
Sorry, Cubs fans.
So I'm Daniel Schottler. He shot 1992.
Daniel.
We're out. We're out.
Till next time.